The big advances in the last decade has been, in my field, our ability to quantify how CO2 has evolved. What is very striking is that within a century, we've injected so much CO2 into the atmosphere that we've been able to go back for 7 million years. And if we continue like this, by the end of the century, we will be back where we were 35 million years ago. As an earth scientist, I find that frightening. Using AI for sustainability, the main advantage is that you can solve complex problems that you couldn't before, and then with less energy that was required. We run the simulation on the graphic cards instead of CPUs, and that reduced the energy that is needed. And as a scientist, it's been very, very motivating. I mean, we've entered a new era. The con is that for simple tasks, or generating text, image recognition, or changes, etc., you need way more energy. Or also dealing with very large data sets, we need big servers, etc. And then there is a massive environmental challenge there. 4 years I've been the rector of the university, so it's a different life, different job. I'm running a very large organization, and one of our goals is to make the university more sustainable. And the way we've been doing it is that we've been first quantifying the environmental impact of the university, how much CO2 we emit, but throughout our activities we want to stay within the planetary limits. So we're changing at the moment the way we heat the buildings, so we're going to have a heat pump. For the food, we've been working extensively with the local farmers, and then for the labs, then it can be a bit more complicated, and there we have a series of task force who are working on how to reduce the impact. It's quite challenging, but I have to say that within 2 years we've already seen a reduction of a CO2 emission of 11%, which is quite spectacular.